being with us tonight. We are going to be recording this and posting it to our YouTube channel because we're wanting this information to get out to others. But we appreciate those of you who are here live with us tonight so we're going to share some things, and then there will be some time for you to ask some questions at the end if you have any of those. So Roland, why don't you go ahead and start us tonight?
Okay, thanks, Laura. You know, when we talk about advanced science, it really, really is very, very advanced. And always trying to figure out how to explain it and make sense of it so people understand it. And I was coming up with an example the other day for myself. I felt good about it. And that is, take a nice, good-sized stream. The water flows out of the ground like an artesian well, and it creates this good-sized stream. And the stream feeds the vegetation along the sides, and it also feeds the fish that are in the stream. And people along the stream may take some of the water to irrigate their gardens. And so it gives a lot of life to a lot of people in different ways because there's this beautiful stream. But let's say, for instance, right where the stream starts, it gets blocked up. The water cannot flow down the stream. It just disperses in all different directions, and it really doesn't benefit anybody. The fish die, and there's just a trickle of water going down the stream, and that's not enough for anybody to irrigate their gardens because of a block. And we can do a lot of things in our life to be in better health. And all these things are good that we're doing, the water, the food, the vitamins, and so on. But if there is a block, it keeps us from utilizing all the wonderful things that we have to make us very, very healthy. So we don't know all about the blocks. We don't know what's there. But we do know that if somebody is very, very, very nervous and upset about things, they can produce ulcers by their thinking. Or a person is very, very upset, they just don't know what's to do and what's going on. They may not digest their food very well. You've seen situations where people get embarrassed and they turn all red just from thinking. So that is the structure, that is the power. And therefore, advanced science helps to remove those blocks so we can have good energy flow through our whole system. And another example is like GPS. GPS gets us to where we want to go. And if that GPS malfunctions, we got a problem. And so to me, that's a good way to look at advanced science. And I can say after using it for a year or more, I'm healthier today than I was before I started on it. Doing the same other things, eating good food, organic and everything else, and taking a lot of supplements and vitamins, but I'm healthier because I've gotten rid of some of the blocks, and I will continue to get rid of blocks, and I will see it as a preventative because we always have things thrown in our direction that affect our thinking. So I will continue using it every day, just as I will drink water every day. And I will eat food probably every day. So the same thing is true with advanced science. I will use it every day. That's my message.
All right, thanks, Roland. Appreciate that. Is there still an echo? We got somebody saying that there's, Sharon, you said that there's an echo. Are we still echoing? Is anybody else hearing an echo?
Sounds better.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, very good. All right. Very good. Okay, thanks, Roland. I thought that was a great illustration of the stream to kind of help us understand a little bit about the blocks and removing those blocks. And Tiffany is going to explain a little bit more about what the actual energy being is. We've created a great diagram to give you all a visual. she's going to explain the energy being in relationship to the physical body and where the blocks occur in our energy being and how clear works to remove those blocks. So Roland, if you would be able to put that share the screen whenever Tiffany prompts you to do that, I guess, or are you ready for that, Tiffany?
Yeah, that's fine. We can go ahead and put that up there. So I think Roland did a really good job of giving a good visual or good image in your mind about what's happening with the blocks and how things are downstream and all of that. So the diagram that you see on the screen is the energy being. Now, it is not the totality of who we are. We have a blueprint that is the expression of who we are in the tripart being, the spirit. We are a spirit, we are energy. We have a soul, we have mind, will, and emotions, and we live in a physical body. So that is the blueprint, and that's the full expression of who we are. Now, in this diagram, I call this the energy being, or it's a template, or it's the area where we actually live out or carry out our life. So if you can kind of picture, you see the diagram on the screen, but you also, if you can picture that you have an entity or a blueprint that's in constant communication to this visual or this diagram. But the most important thing to understand is that this diagram is relevant to what Roland was talking about. He was talking about the blocks and the problems that are going on downstream. So if you look at the diagram, you'll see that the physical body is the very lowest part of the diagram. And you can see how small that truly is in comparison to the rest of the energy being, the rest of the area that we live out our life. So everything that we are doing in health and wellness and healing today, whether it be in a natural alternative way or whether it be in the more traditional medical model way, everything that people are doing is geared towards the physical body. And you can see how small that is in comparison. So if you think about all the resources and the concentrations and everything that's happening is affecting such a very small area. Some of the modalities in the natural will go up a little bit from the physical body into the lower part of the physical plane, but that's about it. So there is a whole area that is untapped, a whole area that Roland was referring to that can get blocked up or plugged up that ultimately is going to have the effect on the physical body. So everything does run downstream. So if you look at the higher parts of that diagram and that visual, you'll see at the very top, we have our thought realm with access points into our mind, and then it goes down through a thought plane, emotion plane, ethereal plane, and it trickles and it goes all the way down through those internal planes. So in theory, the blocks and the plugs that Roland is talking about are what we are addressing in the upper part of the diagram. Those are the areas that become problematic to the physical body, because ultimately, if you go with the downstream analogy that Roland was using, that means that everything from the communication of the blueprint, which is the expression of who you are in the tripart being, through the energy being, which is a thought realm, thought plane, emotion plane, down, 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 to the physical body, everything ultimately will express itself or end up in the physical body. So that's why it's so important that we know and understand the entirety of the energy being and all of the areas and all the places in that diagram that are so much higher up than the physical body. Because if those areas aren't tended to, and if we don't have good energy flow, or if we don't have things unblocked in those areas, you will end up with some type of a wrong expression or a manifestation in the physical body. Now, it's interesting when you look at the diagram, you think at the very top you have your thought realm and your mind and your thought plane. Okay, so that's the very top, and that is the main area that, I mean, I guess the way I would really want to explain it is, we talked a little bit about the blueprint. I don't want to go into detail about that because that gets very deep into the quantum physics, and and things, and that's really not relevant to what we're discussing tonight. But it's important to remember that the blueprint, the expression, spirit, soul, and body, who we are, is in constant communication to this energy being. So the spirit part and the soul part of the blueprint are pointed into a higher power or source or whatever. Like I said, I don't want to spend a lot of time with that, but it's connected to a truth. And so you have the tripart being connected to a truth, and you have your physical body as the lowest part of that. So in between all of that is where you have your thoughts. It's where you deal with the emotions that you have, the way that you manage your emotions. Do you point your emotions into a negative or a positive? Are your thoughts positive or negative? All of those things are going to have the most impact and the most direct impact of what you're going to express in your physical body. So getting those upper energy planes in the energy being cleared out and getting the flow of energy or getting the blocks or things unplugged are going to be what is necessary for getting the change or getting the new expression in the physical body. And that's what clear does. That's the very purpose for which clear, it creates, I don't know, we're echoing again, I'm not sure why. Am I still echoing? Are we good? So the clear goes in and it works to remove those blocks and the areas in the upper energy being that are creating the problems in the physical body. There's a lot more to be said regarding that, but it gives you a basic idea of the importance of keeping the stream going and flowing at the right pace that it's supposed to be, so that we have a good communication from the very highest place of the expression of the blueprint, and that's translating into the energy being where our life is being played out, where we are processing thoughts, where we are processing emotions, and then that ultimately making a presentation or showing up in the physical body. The more positive you're thinking and the more positive you manage your emotions, the more positive effect that's going to have on your physical body. So that's the whole point of clear, is allowing the right flow of energy and communication to the physical body, so you have the positive expression all the way from the blueprint down to the physical body.
Okay, so just to recap a little bit, and I'm going to ask you a few questions, Tiffany, but I think it's really important to point out that the physical body here is very small in comparison to, you know, the energy being. And so often we're just totally focusing on the physical body and what's going on in the physical body. But what is manifesting in the physical body is a result of what's going on up here upstream, just like she said. And I think it's also important to note that what we do to maintain good health is, you know, all of the things that we know to do: good eating, you know, drinking good water, good supplementation, healthy practices. That's all important, and that's really great for our physical body. But it does not address these things up here. So when we get the blocks that happen up here that are either, you know, pass downs or in our subconscious, or due to our thoughts and our thought patterns, due to our emotions, due to the choices that we make, then that creates blocks. And so that's what's so amazing about clear, is that it comes in and it removes those blocks, allowing for free flowing energy and correct communication down to the physical body. Tiffany, could you tell us a little bit specifically about how clear goes in, as well as like what the other, you know, just give us a little example of what the other products do, you know, to support this process in clear in the energy being?
Okay, so clear is comprised of millions of frequencies, and it is structured and designed to, and is through the way that the frequencies are structured, it gives a communication to the energy being, and goes in and finds the things in the energy being that are not consistent with the flow of energy that we have are supposed to be receiving from our blueprint. I don't want to get too hung up on the complexities of this. I mean, this is quantum physics, and it's if you're not familiar with quantum physics, it can be, you know, quite challenging to wrap your head around how much goes on in the unseen realm, the realm that we can't see or touch or feel. So I don't want to get real hung up on that as much as I want people to understand that it is a very real thing, that we have blocks in our energy flow that are not providing a good outcome in our physical body. So the whole point, and you know, Clear is able to identify those, not even you having to know or understand what's going on. It's going to go in and it's going to find all the areas that are not resonating in conjunction with your master frequency, which is all part of the blueprint. And it's not allowing you to have the expression in the physical body that you're supposed to have, because it does literally flow from the blueprint right down to the physical body. And so everything in between the blueprint and the physical body in that energy being, that's where the problem's set up, because that's where we experience life. So Clear goes in and it finds those areas that are not allowing the right energy flow or the right communication, and removes them so that you can have this consistent flow of energy from the master frequency right down to the physical body, with cellular communication being free and unimpeded, so that the cells are completely clear about how to function and how to do their job correctly. And so some of the other products that we have that are important in that they help support the work, what's going on with Clear, because Clear is the master director of communication. It is responsible for identifying all areas of distractions or interferences that are not good or not serving us well. And the other products basically go in and support some of the work that Clear is doing at specific times. So they work much lower down in that diagram. Some of them work higher up, but most of them are lower down in that, and they're more targeted towards very specific energy interferences closer to the physical body, closer to the realm of the particulate or the frozen matter that we become in the lower planes. So the other products are not necessarily needed all the time like Clear, but they are very beneficial in going in and targeting very specific areas of energy miscommunication that are many times causing a very specific symptom or expression in the physical body. So they're more geared towards some symptom relief. Now again, removing a symptom, and I know Annie's going to talk about this next, removing a symptom is not real healing, but it can certainly help support and give comfort to the individual at that particular time as they are removing a toxin or removing some type of a block that is creating or manifesting as that symptom.
Okay, great. Thank you. So basically, Clear goes in, it's frequencies that match with the frequencies that are blocking, and it pulls them out, allowing for free flowing to energy communication to happen, so that correct messaging can happen. And that is the master driver, the master director. It goes all throughout the whole entire energy being into, clearing everything out. Where the other remedies are what I call pothole fillers or spot remedies, where you're going to take for short periods of time, maybe to address specific, as Tiffany was saying, some symptom relief or help to redirect some energy of a specific thing. But they're not needed. Clear will do all those things eventually on its own. It's just that those things might speed up the process a little bit. And as Annie will be addressing here in a moment, I do want to just emphasize that, again, this process of removing the blocks in the energy being, this is about creating wellness in spirit, soul, and body, not just body. So the medical field and that paradigm is totally on the physical body. Natural health and the alternative medicine is also pretty much related and addressing the physical body. So we're talking about addressing the spirit, soul, the whole being, to free that up so that there actually can be direct and good communication so that true healing can develop. Now, Annie is a practitioner, and she has been for 12 years, and she works on, you know, in modalities of healing the physical body with the different procedures that she has, unique procedures, and uses energy as well in her practice. And I'd love for her to explain how she uses the energies in her practice, and how that is expanded and opened up to greater levels of healing than what her energy work alone could do. Annie?
It helps if I unmute myself. Well, yeah, so just to continue with what you're saying, Laura. So the way that, well, let me back up just a little bit before I talk about what I do in my practice. One of the things that everybody has touched on tonight that is so important to understand is that symptom relief is not true healing. And that it's really, you know, we live in our physical bodies. That's what gets our attention. So when something doesn't feel good, or we can't think clearly, or, you know, we're experiencing pain or dysfunction, discomfort, something, that kind of stops everything else until we get that handled, right? I mean, it's really difficult to ignore it. And there's a reason for that. But the reason isn't the physical body. It's actually our body giving us information and telling us that there's something else amiss that is way further up and not in just the physical body. The conventional medical model is completely predicated upon the falsity that we are victims of our DNA. And we're not victims of our DNA, but if we can be convinced that we are, and oh, you just inherited it, it's genetic, this is what you're gonna have to live with, then Big Pharma always has an answer. And they can make a customer for life. And there are times where medications are absolutely needed. So I'm not anti-medicine. I'm just saying that it's not something that has to be a way of life. In 1967, Dr. Bruce Lipton proved that we are not victims of our DNA. He proved that it truly, even at the cellular, the atomic level with a human being, it is the field around the cell that governs the cell function, and that we can change our DNA just with frequency, with the communication in the energy field. So this is really old information, but I just want to revisit that because I know I've talked about this in Zooms we've done in the past, but I really wanted to revisit that little tidbit because it's so important that we understand we are not victims of our DNA. Everything is fixable. And so what we need to do, and so even when we're looking at the traditional medical model versus the holistic or alternative medical model, they're actually addressing things pretty much the same way. They're just using really natural things. And I'm one of those people. So there are really positive, there are positive things about that. And it's a good thing to support the body naturally and to help our physical body and support it in ways that are going to give us a better way, a better experience of healing. However, symptom relief is not healing. So we can address things in the physical body and things feel better and we think, oh, we're good. And then the problem reoccurs because the root of the problem is in those other energetic planes that you saw in that diagram. That's where the root cause is. We are just a representation or a manifestation of that energy being. And so if there's disruption in there, it's just like static on a radio signal or a TV signal. We're not getting a clear communication into the physical body. And so that's where the root cause is, and that's what we want to support. And so we experience trauma and stress in our lives even just the day-to-day stuff that we experience in life, we experience cell phones constantly, Wi-Fi, all sorts of different things that impact us and that impact all of those energy planes. And so even if we've been taking clear, and we're getting all of that stuff cleared out, we do continue to experience life. And so it's always helpful to continue to have that support and that tool to help us to clear things out. To go back to what I do, so I started out as a neurological therapist, and then when I saw the impact the nervous system was having, not just on the physical body, but also all the other aspects of us as a human person, our thoughts, our emotions, our ability to connect with each other, to connect to ourselves, to connect to a higher power, to connect to each other. That all of these things are vital to they're vital parts of us as a human person. And so the touch point appears to me and to a lot of practitioners to be the nervous system where all of that comes together. And so that really attracted me to further work and study in all of that. And so, and I have experience with energy healing my son and myself from some really severe dysfunctions that we had. My son had a pharmaceutical brain injury and he's completely recovered. I went through really significant trauma and had PTSD for 25 years. A lot of that stuff was happening, well, all of it really was happening in those upper planes. The PTSD I was just experiencing it in my physical body. So learning how to reintegrate and clear out all of the interference was huge. And there were different modalities that helped me along the way. But it wasn't until I used clear that it was completely gone. And I think to speak to the fact that we can do all the really great supportive things for our physical body and still have a problem. I know personally people, and you've probably heard or know people too, who they eat really well, they're exercising, they're doing all the things that we should be doing, and yet they have cancer or they have an autoimmune condition or a heart attack or whatever else. That shows us that it's way more than what we're putting into our physical body and how we're attending to that. Is it still important? Of course, we still need to drink water and we need to eat food and we need to do all those things that are going to support that. But again, the root cause is in all of those upper energy planes. So when I am treating a client, I do a really gentle form of body work, but then I began researching further into what was happening in those other planes and dimensions of our energy being. German New Medicine and body code and emotion code are some of the modalities that I use. And those are really just to help clear certain things from the DNA, from some of the upper planes around the physical body. However, can I do that for everybody? No, I can only treat one person at a time, and it's still not doing what clear does. Like I couldn't come close to doing what clear is able to do. Now I can help people if they're so when they come in and they're on clear and maybe they've already been navigating some other health concerns before they even started that. So we're still supporting their body through that. There are some things that I can do energetically to help relieve some burden and make them feel a little bit better. But I can't completely fix everything. And clear really removes all of those blocks. It continues to blow me away how well this works and what a great fit this is in my practice, to be able to give my clients just more tools. This is like the ultimate tool and it's empowering. And that is always been my MO as a practitioner, is that I want to be able to find solutions for the people coming to me that are affordable, empowering, and sustainable. And so advanced science was an absolutely perfect fit for me and for my clients. And so I'm really thrilled to be able to share some of this with you guys tonight. But I think one of the things that I want to touch on is we've been talking a little bit, Roland mentioned, I think everybody's mentioned it tonight, about our thoughts and our emotions and how that impacts our physical body. And it does very, very directly and immediately. And so I think it's important also to be reminded of the fact that we need to not judge our emotions and not judge our thoughts. Get curious, okay? If you're experiencing it, because it'd be really easy to go, oh my gosh, it's all what I'm thinking and what I'm, feeling. So I gotta get a handle on this. I have to fix that, take clear. And that's gonna get so much easier than you could even imagine, because it's going to clear the interference that is really helping to generate some of the distortion in our emotions and our thoughts. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is, what we experience, emotions are not good or bad. They are just information. They're just emotions. It's what we do with it that is going to either serve us or not serve us so well, right? So if you're experiencing a certain emotion or ruminating thought or something like that, get curious about it and just kind of take a moment and go, what is this telling me? What do I need to understand about this, so that you can process it and release it? But again, clear it's amazing. Everybody needs to take clear. So, but I think that we can get really hung up and we can kind of go down the rabbit hole with thoughts and emotions. I have some clients that we talk about this, so I wanted to mention it on here in case that is helpful to anybody else, that we do need to give ourselves grace and just realize that this is all just our body being in pain or not doing what we think it should do, or emotions that are difficult, or ruminating thoughts, or false beliefs, or limiting beliefs, and that sort of stuff. It's all just information. It's telling us that there's something going on. And if you think back to the diagram that we saw before, it's just telling us there's something going on in our energy being that isn't serving us. There's distortion, there's interference in there, and that's what needs to get cleared out. And so while we're doing that, we'll continue to do the things that make us physically feel good and support our physical body. That's all great. But again, the root cause is up there. So if we can just put all of it together, it's life-changing. So,
thank you, Annie. I have a couple of things to say about what you said. And one of them was when you said, I don't know, Roland, if you can throw that diagram back up, but I wanted to point out about how Annie was saying how she can do a lot of things within the DNA, energy work within the DNA, within these spinning wheels of energy is what we refer to them as, or sometimes you hear them called as the 7 chakras. And can sometimes, and also energy modalities can get up into this lower level of the physical plane right here. And that all is really great with giving some symptom relief and helping move things through and give great support. But as Annie was saying, to do any things in these upper planes is not something that energy workers are able to do on their own. But when clear comes in and can clear those things out, then that makes even what energy workers like Annie do that much more effective. And one thing came to my mind, Annie, I don't know if you remember, but I don't know, a month or two ago, you did some energy work on me. You did some EMDR, I think is maybe what it was called, or something. And you were just releasing all of this stuff in these lower planes that were stuck in I don't know where they were stuck, but somewhere down here. But what I remember you saying is that typically a person can only release like 1 or 2 at a time. And yet I was doing like lots.
Yeah, it was floodgates. Yeah.
And yeah, and so I think that was, I mean, and that was attributed to because what Clear had done so much that it was able to release more. But I think it's also important to note that even if I had not had access to Annie, Clear would have eventually released all of those things on its own. I did not need to see Annie in order for Clear to eventually make that happen on its own. I think that's very, very, very important to understand.
It is, because there, you know, I think when we're going to practitioners for help and support, that's a good thing, that's great. But when we bring Clear on board, then we just need to know that it's all being handled. And so it's okay to like, if you're experiencing something that's really uncomfortable and you want to get some relief from it, that's fine. But just know that it's okay to be uncomfortable. I had some blurriness in my left eye for about a year, this last year. And then finally it just completely cleared up. And, you know, I was taking Clear. I was doing, you know, things that I wanted to see this get better right away, because it was really annoying. And I mean, I went back and forth to the eye doctor because I didn't realize what was going on. And it was really funny when he finally said, I can't explain what's going on here. I don't really know what this is, because your eye is perfectly healthy. And I went, oh, I know what's going on. There's something going on up there. So I just had to kind of wait until it was cleared out and handled, and it was. But that may not have been the priority. There may have been other things that my body was prioritizing over my vision being a little bit blurry. I know my mom, and that was another thing I wanted to make sure that I mentioned too, is it's really important to release the expectation of a specific outcome. And this is not, I mean, this is important for, you know, when you're taking Clear, but also for anything, any kind of a health concern, because we really don't know all the different things our body is navigating, and what our physical body's priorities are when it comes to resolving things. My mom got Bell's palsy a couple of years ago. And so like it affects the trigeminal nerve, and one side of your face just kind of like droops, and it's really unpleasant, not painful or anything. It's just, you know, not fun. So anyway, I got her going on Clear, an immune boost, and I think that was all at the time. And the other things that had happened were that she had lost a lot of energy. Her hair was really thinning. And she's 72. Well, she was, 70 at the time when this happened. And my mom has like so much energy all the time, way more than I do. But at any rate, she didn't realize until after we got to start working with her a little bit that as she started taking Clear, she was expecting her face to get better right away. Well, it didn't. And it was months. Well, it was because what really happened was her thyroid tanked when that virus hit her. And so her body's priority was her thyroid. So she started noticing her hair getting thicker and her energy coming back first. And then her face started getting better. But it wasn't what she was expecting going in. So I just wanted to mention that too, that sometimes there's a different priority that we're not aware of. And so, because when we're healing, and it's a part of what I do as a practitioner, is I just muscle test when I'm working with somebody to figure out, okay, what do they need right now today in this moment? Because if I go in with an agenda, then that may not be congruent with how their body is unlayering things. And so it's the same when we're taking Clear. There's going to be an unlayering in a certain way that is right for you that we don't have all the intel on. And so just kind of releasing an outcome expectation is just really, it just makes the whole thing easier for you. So I again, like I said, with my eye, I mean, I had to do the same thing. I just had to kind of hang in there, and everything is completely clear and fine now. So
I think that's really important to know, because I think in general, most people, when they start this process, they have specific symptoms or discomforts that they are trying to, you know, relieve and get rid of. And again, the medical model and the natural health model has set us up to thinking that symptom relief is healing.
yeah.
And so this is partly a huge education tool that we're trying to help people understand, that symptom relief is not necessarily healing. Yes, your symptoms will go away eventually, but if they don't go away right away, that doesn't mean that clear is not working. And it's also very, very important to understand that, especially when clear is working in those upper energy planes, those things, when we manifest a physical illness, a chronic illness, I mean, you know, I'm not talking like virus, but I'm talking like chronic illness. When we manifest that, that didn't just, like, you know, happen in our energy plane yesterday and go all the way down the things to our body and show up the next day. No, that was probably setting up long ago. That might have even been a pass down from generations before us that is now just showing up. And that being said, is the expectation that we're going to take this for a day, a week, or even 3 months and think that what's going on is going to, in the physical body, is going to disappear. It might, but it may not. Just as Annie did an excellent job of explaining the prioritization of what clear does and how it's very, very gentle, and it knows exactly what to do and what to take care of first. That we may, you know, we have no clue what's going on, but we may be setting up to have something life-threatening going on that clear may be removing, because at the end of the day, you know, blurry eye or cough or some, you know, itching or fluid retention or any of those things that are annoying, they're not life-threatening, and so it's not necessarily something that has to go away. But I would say 100% of, well, I shouldn't say that strong, 90% of people that take clear and take clear consistently, then I think that they can say within a month, if they're taking it consistently, that they do notice that their thinking and their thoughts change.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly where clear is targeting, is up in those thought and emotion planes that supplements do not do, water does not do, you know, all of those things do not do. They can help support those things, I mean, but it does not clear anything from that upper plane, from those upper planes. And I would say people that take it as directed, 2 squirts twice a day and consistently, they're going to notice quite quickly their thought patterns changing. Now, it may take a little bit longer for them to experience physical symptom relief, but, you know, for those of us who have been on this much longer, you know, I can tell you that that is going to change too, down from changing the structure of your physical body and restructuring your actual, your bones and your ligaments and all of those things, because as your body gets as it gets the right communication, the body knows how to adjust itself. And those things, so I think that's very, very important, that time, that this is a process that, you know, it just becomes part of your lifestyle. So in other words, like we drink water every day, you know, this is just a part of, you know, or we take a multivitamin every day for supplementation, or we do those things that we do daily that we're just going to do because we know it's for good health. Well, clear is the ultimate good health tool because it affects body, soul, and mind, the whole gamut of us. And, you know, even, you know, in a couple of years when things have completely cleared out of our blueprint, we have everything flowing and good, we still have things that are going to be trying to come in and bombard us. We're going to still have life events, small traumas, big traumas, you know, things that are going to try to set up negative thinking patterns. as well as, you know, other sorts of chemical traumas or things that we are exposed to. And so that's why keeping clear on board, which I think is so incredibly cool too, because as you have something fresh, as you have a fresh trauma that might happen, maybe you're in a car accident or, you know, I don't know, big trauma, little trauma. With clear on board, it removes that trauma from your energy being and doesn't allow it to set up as a block. So that's why it's so important as well to keep it on board as a preventative tool. So that being said, I just want to open it up to any of you all to, we have a couple minutes till we close the hour. Does anybody have any questions for anybody? Or comments, or things that you may have learned or didn't know, or things that you have appreciated or that you've noticed in the process of taking clear yourselves. We might have to unmute people, Roland, in order for them to be heard.
Annie, what about the Healing Code by Alex Lloyd and Dr. Ben Johnson? Are you familiar with that?
I do know of it. It's different than what I do. And so I had, you know, I don't know enough about it. I had another practitioner explain to me how it worked. And I just felt like what I was doing was probably more comprehensive with it's not my own modality. It's Dr. Bradley Nelson's body code and emotion code. And then some of the other things that I do, but I don't know enough about it.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else? Any questions or comments? You'll have to mute or unmute yourself if you are wanting to speak.
I want to make a comment. I want to just say that, like I was trying to allude to earlier, Clear is an amazing healing tool that is capable of doing everything you need to do to reconnect with your master frequency in the way that you're designed to be. Everybody wants to know the ins and outs of everything. Just take it. It's designed, I mean, I created it because, like Annie said, I was one person. I certainly, as a practitioner, I cannot see everybody and do everything for everybody. I want to. And that's where Clear comes from. That's the whole impetus behind Clear. It is basically a practitioner in a bottle that can reach out all around the world and do everything a practitioner can ever do for you, plus so much more. It is an amazing, amazing tool. I mean, I have used it regularly for 5 years, and even after 5 years, it is still doing things. It is still finding things and taking things out and reconnecting things. And I mean, it's just absolutely an amazing tool. So don't get too hung up on all the ins and outs of the quantum physics and understanding everything. And you don't need to do that. Just take it. Just take it and just enjoy what it has to offer and enjoy being reconnected in ways that you probably may have never been connected before, just because of passed down and all that kind of stuff. It is truly intended just to be an easy thing, 2 squirts twice a day. That's it. Just take it forever, and it'll be amazing. And just take it and take it and take it, because you'll never stop. I know you will never stop experiencing the benefits of it.
Okay, anybody else? Roland?
Hi, Laura. It's me.
Oh, hi, Sharon.
I've been taking Claire with the immunity boost. And something else. I have 3 of them. I can't remember. But I know for myself with the immunity boost, and the clear combined, I've noticed a huge difference in my test results. I personally have lupus, so it is helping as well. So it's good with my thoughts and for my immunity, you know, and with all the other good things that we take as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's good. And just keep taking it.
Yeah.
You
I take more than 2 drops.
well, that's fine too. I mean, that's just you can never overtake any of the remedies, because if you don't need it, the body filters it out. It's completely harmless. But yeah, there are times too when I'll double up on it, or certain things will come up, and that's perfectly fine. You'll find that the longer you take it, the more intuitive you'll become in knowing what you need in regards to the energy, because it will tell you. And you'll get very tuned into that and locked into that relationship with your energy and remedies.
So what's the difference with Truth Remedy and Clear?
Well, Truth Remedy is still a spot remedy. It is not comprehensive, and it is not multiple and multidimensional like Clear, but it works in the thought realm. If you remember back to the diagram, at the very top of the energy being was the thought realm.
Mm-hmm.
And what it helps to do is it helps to reposition your thoughts and your thinking more towards the positive, because we are by nature designed to be positive in nature. And so a lot of times, because of multiple things, multiple factors, that area, those positive, negative on the top of the thought realm, that's just a representation. It's really all over. But the Truth Remedy will specifically target that to allow the positive communication from the blueprint to enter into the thought realm and then trickle down. Okay, so it's not like Clear in any measure, but it is geared towards putting and turning your thoughts and the energies around the thought realm towards the positive and towards the truth that the blueprint is ultimately trying to communicate to you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your question, Sharon. I'm going to take this opportunity just to demonstrate, because it seems that we get a lot of questions as to how actually to take the product and what a squirt is, or what a half dropper full is. So assuming you can see me, because I can't see myself on the screen. So are you seeing me? Okay. So basically you take your bottle and you squeeze the dropper and you put it in, and what comes up is about a half dropper full. Can you see that? Okay, so that's what we mean by a half dropper full. It's squeezing, inserting, half dropper full. You put it in your mouth, you do it a second time. That's 2 1/2 droppers full. So if anybody, on a side note, not on our Zoom, but if you guys can find a better way to help us explain that to people, because for some reason that seems to be a difficult concept to get past, but that's okay. So any other questions or comments before we close? Roland, do you want to wrap us up?
Yes, I want to thank everybody for participating, being on. And a couple things that I was thinking about. There are a couple of emotions that most people are familiar with. Stress and fear. Big ones, stress and fear. And most people realize that if we have a lot of stress and a lot of fear, it can affect us negatively on the inside of our bodies and create faster aging on the inside of all our cells. It's destructive. And you know what? It also affects the outside of our body in terms of aging. People who are in a very, very important position with a lot of stress, a lot of fear, we find that they age fast. Most presidents of the United States after 4 years are much, much older than they started when they took office. So if I'm looking to have a healthy cell on the inside, so it stays healthy for a good long time until it's supposed to leave my body, and if I want to have healthy skin and be healthy longer from the outside, then I'm going to keep taking clear. So I think that's another way to look at it. So advanced science is moving ahead. We have more and more practitioners looking at advanced science to realize it will enhance what they're doing. And this is going to become incredibly, incredibly important throughout the United States, and we believe throughout the whole world, because there is nothing like advanced science on the market. So thank you for being on. Appreciate it.